Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of MetsMusings. I know we've taken some time off, but as you can see by the shelf getting a little thinner here, we are in the middle of packing up our house in lieu of putting it on the market and selling it. So the background might change, things might change a little bit as we go on. There may be some where I'm sitting in a kitchen or something, but for now, we are still here and doing the show. So, uh, such is life, and time marches on, and all of that stuff. But what about our Metsies this week? Well, they lost 2 out of 3 to the Los Angeles Angels since we last talked, and did the same against Texas. Came out and beat the Seattle Mariners in the opening of a 3-game series. Lost last night after a great comeback, though. They did manage to come back and, uh, you know, uh, show some spunk and some fight, and they have played somewhat better these last couple of weeks. Now, keep in mind, they have called up guys to fill slots. We don't know when Starling Marte is coming back, if at all. And so DJ Stewart has been up, Rafael Ortega has been up, and they've been doing a fine job. Brett Batty went down. Vientos came back from injury. He's been starting to hit, showing signs of what he did in the minor leagues, starting to warm up a little bit. Unfortunately, now he's got a foot injury. We don't know how bad that is, but Batty is back up. And I guess the big news now for Met fans is that Ronnie Mauricio finally got the call up, and he keeps hitting. He had 2 hits the first game Friday night, 2 hits last night on Saturday. We'll see how he does today, if he's playing again today. But Ronnie Mauricio is up now, so now we have Vientos and Batty and Alvarez and Mauricio, and 4 of the top prospects that we were looking at one time are now with the big club. So a big time now. Now this team is showing some fight. They're showing some grit. And you got to wonder why. Why didn't they do this all season? Well, now it's crunch time. Now they've got guys that are borderline major leaguers who want to stay with the team. They've got young prospects up. They're all fighting for jobs for next year. A guy like Ortega or DJ Stewart, Locastro's been up, playing pretty well. Used a lot in pinch running situations. Even guys that have been here all year, Fogelboom, they're all looking for jobs next year, whether it be with New York or with some other team. They want to impress people. They want to impress scouts. They want to impress management. They want to impress Buck Showalter if he's here next year. And so that's what they're doing. Playing hard, excuse me, playing good ball, and fighting. Last night, perfect example. Got down 7-3, scratched back, and tied the game. Unfortunately, Adam Ottavino gave up a home run in the 9th inning. No big surprise, but and that was the game. But the rest of it, where they were scratching and clawing to get back in, was kind of exciting to watch. It's something that has been lacking during the season off and on. So they're not going anywhere, and play the young guys. Let's see them every day. Let's see Vientos. Let's see Batty. Let's see Alvarez some more. Let's see Mauricio. And DJ Stewart is playing a lot and hitting pretty well and playing a pretty decent defense. So Could he be in the mix for next year? Very well could be. Maurizio, if he impresses and shows he can hit, will he be in the mix for next year? Could very well be. So, there's plus and minuses to what's going on, but we'll see how it all works out. And speaking of next year, the Mets have announced the two iconic Mets of the 1980s are going to have their numbers retired. Darryl Strawberry and Doc Gooden will have their numbers retired in separate ceremonies at Citi Field next summer. The Mets had never previously moved to retire the numbers of either Gooden or Strawberry due to an unofficial team-imposed regulation against doing so for players not in the National Baseball Hall of Fame. That stance softened towards the end of the Wilpon family's ownership and has continued under Cohen's stewardship, with Vice President of Alumni Relations Jay Horowitz spearheading the effort. So Gooden and Strawberry, 16 and 18, will be retired next season. And the Mets have fired Director of Player Development Kevin Howard and multiple others who held director roles in the organizations. The Mets have also fired Director of Pro Player Evaluation Jeff LeBeau, Director of Baseball Development Brian Hayes, and Director of Performance Jim Cavallini. Michael Marino assisted in that reporting. Howard joined the Mets in 2021 as the organization's Director of Player Development and transitioned to the Major League Assistant Hitting Coach from May until the end of the season. The former minor league player then returned to the position of Director of Player Development in 2022. Hayes was in his 13th season with the Mets and was promoted to the newly formed Director of Baseball Development position in 2022. Previously, he was the Assistant Director of Amateur and International Scouting for 3 years. Hayes began his career as a bat boy and clubhouse attendant for the Norfolk Tides back in 2004. LeBeau was also in his 13th season with the Mets. He was promoted from Assistant Director of Pro Scouting in 2022 to Director of Pro Player Evaluation. Cavallini was named the Director of Player Performance and Sports Science in January of 2018, following 3 years as the Director of Performance for the United States Army. So what does all of this mean? It means there's a shakeup in the organization. What does that mean towards next year? Well, there are highly placed rumors that the Mets, who it's been no secret that they've been pursuing David Stearns of Milwaukee. In fact, they acquired about him a couple of years ago. Milwaukee refused to let him out of his contract and refused to allow the Mets to talk to him at all. So there's been rumors, of course, and there's that the Mets have been going after David Stearns to be their president of baseball operations for some time. Now, if he comes over, he'll want to bring some of his own people. So perhaps this is a move that shows some dissatisfaction with the way the team was put together this year, and maybe a step towards the future, and maybe bringing in somebody new. Let's forget that it is David Stern for a second. Whoever comes in as president of baseball operations will want to bring in his own crew. Will bring in people that he trusts and that he likes and he works well with. So this could be the beginning of that major shakeup in the organization. We'll keep an eye on that and watch that for you. Also, there has been rumors that if David Stern, who becomes a free agent with Milwaukee after the season, does come over as president of baseball operations, there is a possibility he will want to name his own manager and bring a manager with him, which means Buck Showalter could be out, and maybe Craig Counsell could be in. David Stern has worked with Craig Counsell in Milwaukee. He's done a fine job there. Perhaps there's a fit. All of this is speculation. All of it is rumor at this particular point in time. But it's interesting to look at it and figure all these machinations behind the scenes that people don't usually care about much about the organizations, but it can have a big deal and a big part of what goes on the field. So we'll keep an eye on all of that, and we'll see where it goes from here. Let's take a quick break, and we'll be back with a little bit more analysis right after this.
Baseball and BBQ, your place for interesting baseball talk, opinions, and history.
Baseball and BBQ, your place for barbecue recipes, tips, and interviews from the world of barbecue. If you like baseball and if you like barbecue, then tune in to Baseball and BBQ. Find us on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and BaseballTalkRadio.com.
Did you know that Baseball PhD can be heard on BaseballTalkRadio.com?
Our shows rotate with other top baseball podcasts.
Now don't forget, that's BaseballTalkRadio.com.
With us, we'll help you get a PhD in life through baseball.
With BaseballTalkRadio.com, you'll hear the rest of the excellent universe of baseball podcasts.
Hello, baseball fans. You're listening to Baseball Talk Radio, the home of great baseball talk shows. At BaseballTalkRadio.com, you're going to find great shows like this one with the great Gary Mack and the MetsMusings podcast. And now back to the show.
Okay, and we're back, and before we continue on, I want to take a look at some of the trades that the Mets made and give some thoughts about it. We'll have a little bit more in the farm report. The prospects have been doing very well for the most part, and the Mets made some good trades. But here's the part that I really want to get to, and that is, if you look at Max Scherzer and you look at Justin Verlander, they're both pitching well. Better, much better than they did here. As of his last outing, Scherzer has only given up 2 homers in, I think, 9 starts with Texas, where he was giving them up, it seemed like a homer or 2 a game with the Mets. Verlander has pitched very well since rejoining the Houston Astros after a mechanical adjustment, or an adjustment in his mechanics, I should say. So the question is, why couldn't they do it here? Was it the fact they were in New York? That could have possibly, that as big as stars as they are, maybe that has something to do with it. Who knows? Maybe, Houston's still smaller than New York. Texas, Arlington is still smaller than New York. Maybe they just couldn't play in New York. And if it was mechanics issues, why didn't we catch it? Why didn't Hefner catch it? Maybe it's time for a new pitching coach. I know Jeremy Hefner is highly regarded around the game, but the performance this year, especially of the bullpen, could warrant a look somewhere else. I'm watching the other night, and Drew Smith comes out and looks terrific. He looks terrific. He gets 2 quick outs, and then he can't find, or he's wild in the strike zone. And then he's going to full counts. Then he's doing this. I don't understand what happens to these guys. Adam Ottavino was a good pitch. All of a sudden, he can look so dominant, and then the next night come in and give up a gopher ball. There's no consistency with the bullpen, especially. Poor David Peterson. That guy has struggled all year. He looks brilliant at times, and they yank him out in the 4th inning. I don't know what they're doing, and it could lead to the demise of this manager and coaching staff because they just don't seem to know what this year. Last year they were in complete control. This year, I don't know. Some of the decisions you got to scratch your head at. That being said, the team didn't perform well in the first half. Granted. But it just gets you thinking that, these guys get traded and then they perform well. Okay, David Robertson has been lousy with Miami, which is okay. Because maybe we can get him back next year. He's a free agent, and this will lower his market value, perhaps. And he liked pitching in New York. He pitched well here. I don't know what it is. It's just very strange. And when I read that, especially about Verlander, because they were the one in this article that I read that they specified that it was a mechanics issue. And they fixed it, and now he's pitching well again. Did we not know enough? Did we not watch enough film of him to fix it? Did we rely too much on him to self-fix it? I don't know. The question is, why didn't we catch it? Why couldn't we fix it for these guys and have them pitch the way we thought they could? It may not have made a difference in the record or the season, but at least it would have been, it would have made for a better effort, perhaps, had they been pitching well. So, I don't know. It's a mystery to me, but we'll see. Think about it and drop me a line with your thoughts on that. All right, let's take another quick break. And I was lax in getting the records of the minor leaguers, so we won't go too much into the teams, but we'll take a quick look at the minor leagues when we come back right after this. Okay, time to go down on the farm. And today on the farm, Syracuse, I'm going to do this on the fly, so bear with me. Syracuse is 19-35, and they are 14 games out of the division lead in the second half here. So they are literally out of the playoffs. But it's been a tough year for Syracuse as well. They've had many players coming and going, and that's the job of a AAA team, of all minor league teams. Players come and go. And, players get promoted, and when they get hot, and they lose their best players. So, so take that with a grain of salt when you look at some of these numbers. Binghamton is 31-23 in the second half. In second place, 2 games out of first place. They might make the playoffs. Good for Binghamton. And Binghamton's got, pretty good team, because some of the guys that were in Brooklyn and in St. Lucie have been promoted and are doing pretty good. Brooklyn's in first place, 34-25 in their division, and they could be in the playoffs as well. So congrats to them. St. Lucie is 16-41 in the second half, 12 games out of first place. They will not be making the playoffs, I do not think. All right, a couple of the prospects. Jet Williams got off to a great start in Brooklyn. He's cooled down a little bit, but he is hitting well, and boy, he looks like a player. He's only 19 years old, so he's got a couple of years more seasoning, but started off real slow in St. Lucie, got to Brooklyn when he was coming around, got off to a great start in Brooklyn. Now he's hit a little bit of a low, but he's still hitting like 286, 296. I forget what I read. But still hitting, and I think he was an 0 for 13 slump, but had 8 walks also in that time period. So, he's still managing to get on base, got good speed. Another shortstop, but they've played him some in center field and the outfield. So, a name to watch, Jet Williams. Luis Angel Acuna, who they got in a trade, one of the prospects. He got off to a slow start with Binghamton, but he's starting to come around, starting to hit very fast. Good defense. So, another guy that's doing well. Drew Gilbert, a guy that came also in one of the trades. He has been tearing it up in Binghamton, so another good trade. Kevin Paretta, I don't know what number prospect he is now, maybe 3 or something like that, of the Mets. He is been promoted to Binghamton, another catcher, and he's coming fast. And he's continued to hit pretty well. Had a home run, a 3-run shot last night, I believe it was. Paretta started off slow again with Brooklyn. Got hot, was hitting when they promoted him, and now he's with Binghamton. So he's a Double-A already. Alvarez could be... have some competition. He's not hitting again now. He's slumped down to 211 with the big club. So we'll see what happens with Paretta. Paretta will probably stay with Binghamton next year, I would imagine. If he, because it's such a late call up now to Binghamton. If he continues to progress, he could move up to AAA sometime during the season next year and get some more seasoning. So he's at least, we may see him 2025 before there's any mention, unless he really takes off next year and Alvarez struggles. But I think we may not see Paretta till 2025, if at all. He could be traded. He could be used as trade bait. If they like Paretta better than Alvarez, Alvarez could be trade bait. Who knows? But that's baseball. That's the way it goes sometimes. So, just a quick report on the minor leagues, and let's keep rooting for these guys. Be nice to see Brooklyn in the playoffs, and if Binghamton can grab a playoff spot, that would be terrific to have 2 teams into the playoffs. And Binghamton really seemed to take off after the trade when they got Gilbert and Acuna there. So they were playing pretty decent ball, and then those guys just punched some more life into that team. And that's why they are where they are today. Let's see. I think that's going to cover everything for this week. So, one more game with Seattle today on Sunday, an odd Sunday that I'm doing a show, but I wanted to get one out there. Then we go to Washington for 2 and 3 in Minnesota next weekend before the Metsies come back home to play the Diamondbacks and the Cincinnati Reds, and neither team are pushovers anymore. So the schedule doesn't get any easier. Then they play Miami and Philadelphia. The Marlins and the Phillies end the season as we are closing in on the closing days of the season already. It's hard to believe, but it is Labor Day weekend and the official end of summer. If you're like me, you hate to see it go. Happens every year, though. All right. So if you're watching on YouTube, please hit the like and subscribe button. It'll keep you informed when a new episode is released. Also, if you're listening to the audio version of the podcast, hit the subscribe button. And again, you'll know whenever a new episode comes out. Next week, we'll have a special guest on. I think you'll enjoy it. It'll be something a little different, but and I hope you all enjoyed the interview with Ed Kranepool, our last show, and I really had a good time doing it. So until next time, remember to keep the faith, stay optimistic, and let's go Mets. And I'll see you next time on another edition of MetsMusings.